Have you ever felt like you had all the information you needed? Every angle and approach was covered, and things seemed perfect. Self confidence can provide you with great comfort. Can you ever have too much? We'll discuss that and more on this edition of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. It's
Just okay? Not a lot of self-confidence today?
No. If
No?
I'm being honest, I do not have a lot of self-confidence. I'm doing a couple of things. I'm leading our workshop later today at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and I've never done it with you in the room. I've done it twice, but you've never been there, and you do it really well. So I feel intimidated by your abilities. So I lack some self-confidence there, and then there's some other things going on that I lack confidence in as well. So, it's a typical day in my life.
Well, you know that I don't judge. I'm not going to judge you.
I know that so much of self-confidence is in our head, right?
I guess. I think so.
I have control of how much self-confidence I have, right? You can't control that.
Absolutely.
So if it's in my head, that means I've got to figure out how to deal with it. And it'll be fine.
You want me to not show up?
Will work out. I'm not, what's that?
You want me to not show up?
No, that's fine. I also have some people that are coming to it that are scheduled to come to it. And it also makes it more important, that there are people whose opinion matters more than normal to me. So that's not a bad thing. I made that choice, but
maybe you're worried that they're going to judge you and they won't judge you either.
Yes. I think that's it. Yes.
Something to consider as we dive into our topic about self-confidence this week, talking about it all week. And today, interestingly enough, we are going to talk about having too much. I don't know, maybe, Bob, there's not a lot you can offer to that. At least
actually, I have people accuse me of being overconfident a lot.
Okay. It's interesting, yet not for this presentation. Maybe another session with Bob as we think about it. Anyhow, so that's what we're going to be talking about today, having too much confidence and what that might lead to. So welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where we have a discussion around our topic. As we said, our topic this week is self-confidence. Today, we're going to be talking about, as I said, having too much. So if you have thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share as we go through this discussion, please feel free to put them in the comments. If you are watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, or
LinkedIn Live.
He loves that. If you are listening to this podcast, please feel free to share it with others. You can also rate us.
5 stars, people. 5 stars. I got 5 fingers up in front of my face. Tom likes it when I put it right in front of my face so you can't see my face.
I did not say that. That is untrue statement.
You said that yesterday.
I said some others may prefer that who are watching this, not me. So if you are listening to it, though, and since there is no place to comment, you can always come to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group where you can share it there. That's where we have others, leaders, entrepreneurs, small business owners who are trying to take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. So you are welcome to share it in there. And then at the end
or Tom, they could also share it with the car next to them at a red light, or if they're on a treadmill with the person running next to them.
What are the chances people are going to do that? When's the last time you rolled down your window and said, "Hey, I'm listening to this great podcast. You ought to turn it on"?
How do you think we got from 2 listeners to 3? because that's what I do at every red light.
Okay. Hey, if it works, awesome.
That's our guerrilla marketing.
There you go. So our Ring of Renegades Facebook is a free group that is a chance for you to come in and be with other people who consider themselves renegades and are looking to find their next step. So you can also share an antidote at the end of the day if you have it, as Bob and I will each share ours to help someone somewhere who may be looking just for the information that we are providing. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, our introduction, let's dive into the thing we do every show. First thing we do is celebrate. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate one of our clients who I met with yesterday, and I've been meeting with this person for the last, 4, maybe 5 months. And at the beginning, most of the discussion was led by me, which is not atypical, asking questions, trying to clarify things. But we had a discussion yesterday where I was just collecting information. This person was just telling me exactly what they were going to do and why it made sense. And the logic was perfectly flawless, and they were confident, and they were clear, and they were passionate. And it was just amazing to see this person that 4 or 5 months ago was just scared of her own presence in it. And now it was like, her question after she went through this list of things was, am I missing anything? And it was in a way that was like, I don't think I'm missing anything. So if I'm missing something, you need to come to the game. But I really did my homework. I really got this nailed down. So it was just really great to see the growth of a person in our Renegade Success Network.
Well, and it was interesting the way that she shared that was she felt like she had it all, which meant her self-confidence was pretty strong probably in that. And yet she was, and I have a feeling we'll talk about this today, she didn't want to have too much and feel like she missed something. And I think I'm sure we'll dive deeper into that in a little bit. Well, that's awesome. And congratulations to that
Thank
client.
Thank you.
I'm not congratulating you. I'm congratulating our client, not you.
Well,
you can celebrate it. I'm glad for that.
Yeah, I can celebrate it. I had a small part in it.
Yes, you did. And
so what are you celebrating?
I am celebrating. Yesterday, I had the chance to have this conversation. I met this person. I met someone at a kind of a networking thing, but it was a little more of a gathering, I guess, which I guess could be construed as networking. And we were just connected at some point through it. And they do a little podcast that's a discussion around a topic. And it was funny because they talked about it as, I miss those little conversations you have at networking events with a group of people around, not networking, but as a way to just share and better understand who people are. And so yesterday we did this 10-minute take, and with 3 people, it was myself and 3 others. And it was great just to have a conversation and share ideas. And what for me was also great was that I shared a little bit about some concepts that I've been thinking about as a part of my book. And it resonated interestingly with one of the other participants. And I think they were struggling with some of the concepts. And I think what was great about that for me was that knew that I had something. That there were people out there who were going to react. And even though her reaction wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm all in, it's the greatest idea ever. It was, they weren't certain, which for me, again, because I didn't judge it. I didn't allow it to be like, oh man, must be my idea isn't good. I took it more as that means that there are others out there who would feel the same way. And so that's an opportunity for me to share that might have an impact on them. Might not. They may never pick up the book and buy it. And there's also the opportunity that it might add value to someone. So I think it was a reinforcement that there is something there.
Nice. Yeah. Can't wait for that book. I heard talk yesterday that there might be a first draft by April.
That's sort of the new target. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
I heard that at a meeting.
I would say that is the intent.
Yes.
Knowing that I can't always control everything that could happen.
Of course.
So what are our renegades celebrating today, Bob?
We're going to celebrate what you were just talking about, which was the power of new ideas. Because what you're presenting in this book is a new idea to a lot of people. And the power of that is, doesn't mean someone has to agree completely, but new ideas give us new understanding, new appreciations for things, and it opens our eyes to new possibilities.
Adds more knowledge, experience, and perspective.
Correct.
To what we currently have.
Correct.
I love it. New ideas are always a cool thing.
Yes.
And I think it's cool that people choose to share them, because we could choose not to share them.
Correct.
And I think that so often people are afraid to share new ideas because, as you shared, they may be judged, and those ideas may be judged,
or even the way they present them.
Certainly. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was just thinking about what I'm doing this afternoon.
Yeah.
It could be judged not by the idea or the intent, but by just the mere way I put it in front of people.
Of course. Anytime we put something out there, there's lots of different ways that we could be judged.
Right. Someone might not like the title of your book. And because they don't like the title, they'll never open it up. Someone else might open it up expecting it to be one thing and read 5 pages and go, this is not what I thought this was.
Sure. Absolutely.
There's
always that possibility. What's that?
Not to scare you in your book.
That, like I said.
Yeah, you've got a fire. Yesterday's discussion lit the fire, and that's what you needed. I've worked with a lot of authors. There's a moment where it just like coalesced, and they're like, I just got to get this done. And I think you're there now.
I think I'm making progress towards it. So we shall see. All right. So let's dive in, although we have been dancing around our topic a little bit. Let's dive into it. Confidence, self-confidence, having too much. What do you think, Bob?
Well, first of all, I think that's a judgment someone makes about us. So when I was teaching college, you would get evaluated by your students, and routinely I would hear that I was cocky, I was arrogant, I was a know-it-all. This is 25 years of evaluations. That just kept coming up, 2 or 3 students every semester. What I think it was that I presented myself in that setting like I knew what I was talking about, and I could tap dance when I didn't have the exact answer. I knew the topic well enough that I could be smooth on my feet, and I didn't get frustrated or upset. I was calm and in control, and I think that can scare people when you seem unflappable. I think that's what really starts to make people question. But to me, the whole idea of being too confident, yes, we can be too confident. If I came and said, Tom, I've seen you do this presentation twice, I've done it twice, piece of cake, that to me could be overconfidence, because every time you do a presentation, it's different. Every single time. Even if you do the same script over and over and over, it's different.
Every time we do anything a second time, it's different.
So if you think about that, if every time we do something, it's different on some level, big different or little different, it's awfully hard to be fully confident because we don't know what could happen. We think, the plane, how many planes take off a day? Thousands every day in the US. And we haven't had a major airplane disaster in, I think it's like 30 years. So
knock on wood, just so you don't jinx.
But it's a pretty safe bet right now.
Sure.
When we were younger in the 80s and 70s, there were a couple plane crashes. So now you would think now, like the risk, if I'm a pilot, am I overconfident because I'm really comfortable that we're going to land perfectly fine, no problem, because it hasn't happened in 30 years? Or am I just assessing the data and going, statistically, the odds are really slim here? Am I making sense? I feel like I'm
absolutely.
Through it.
Well, absolutely. I think that, one thing is the more times you do things, the more if you take the time, you can learn from them. Every time you do a presentation, you have the opportunity to step back and say, as we always encourage people, what went well, what didn't go as planned, and what would I do differently? And that allows you to not look at the feedback as a judgment. It's just feedback that allows you to grow. You and it was interesting because you said 2 or 3 students every year that were that way.
Every class, every semester.
And yet you didn't share how many students had really positive things to say about their experience in the classroom.
All the others, if I'm being honest.
Yes. And it's fascinating that you spent probably more time on the 3.
Oh, you have no idea. That was one of the hardest things about teaching. And one of my colleagues, when I was teaching at Johns Hopkins, said to me, he had been there for like 15, 20 years. He said, I don't read my evaluations anymore. I know what I do. I know what I do well. I know what I don't do well. I don't need them to explain it to me.
It's fascinating. He
Whoa.
said, honestly, to me, that's having too much confidence because you believe that you have all the answers.
Correct.
And that no one else out there could share some perspective that could benefit what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's the risk of having too much confidence, is that you believe you don't need feedback from anyone else, that there is nothing new that could possibly happen or that someone could share that could change who and what you are. And what I have found, that's the time when the most oddest, bizarre thing that ever imagined comes up, or someone shares something that you're like, wait a minute, how did I forget that? I mean, I've known that for 25 years, and yet it was missing this time.
I had that happen to me this morning, about an hour ago, where someone just said something to me. It was like, this is what's going on. And I was like, oh. And I was completely going in a different direction. And and I do think part of the way to deal with being too confident is to have people around you that ground you, that are willing to say to you, hey, have you considered this? Hey, what about this other perspective? And not everyone can do that. And not everyone welcomes that. I'm blessed that you're someone who I know you'll just say, hey, dude, time out. Have you thought about this other perspective? And be like, oh, okay. And you don't do it in you're a real idiot because you haven't figured this out. It's more like, hey, I just want to share something with you. I don't know if it's going to resonate, but here it is. And I think that's a gift that we can give to the people around us to help avoid them being overconfident.
Or we can just look at or we take all the feedback in and say it's just feedback. Right. And we allow it to say, okay, interesting. And we take it all in. I had a conversation with a client once who they ran events. And after every event, they would ask for feedback and they would get it. And then when they had what they perceived as negative feedback, or people who were frustrated or upset with what was going on, they would call all of them. Or, they would pick a handful and call just to find out because they felt like, well, if this didn't go so well, why don't we call those people? And so I asked them, well, do you call 5 of the people who gave you great reviews? And they were like, no, why? Well, that's, you're placing a whole lot of emphasis on these 5 people who, for whatever reason, his experience wasn't what they expected, and they decided to share that with you. And you felt that that was the best way, or maybe the only way, because you didn't call anyone else, to learn from your event. I think so often we glaze over all those things that are really positive because that's what we expect. You expect that people were going to be wowed by your brilliance, and many were. And then there were a couple who weren't.
I don't think I ever said it that way.
I said it. You didn't say it that.
Okay.
So that's okay. I think it's like saying you're an expert. It's always interesting to me when people say I'm an expert. I don't want to be like, really? So you've considered every possible angle that ever could possibly happen. No one could come up with something that could stomp you. Stomp. Slow you down. Stump you. Sorry.
There's someone yelling in their car right now like, I am an expert. I know everything.
Okay. And that's fair. That's fine.
Well, it's funny, an area where you hear about these experts often is social media. You know, I was dealing with a client the other day and he was like, yeah, I've talked to 3 experts on social media. And I was like, what? He said, they're experts. And I said, they may know more than you and me, but I don't know any expert on social media.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that it's different if someone else considers you an expert, because you know more than they do about the topic. So you're like, okay. But to come out and say that you're an expert, I think that is a challenge. I mean, it's fair. You can say whatever you want.
Right.
And I would just challenge you that if you think you're an expert, it's like the professor who stopped reading reviews. You think you have all the answers. And so you're going to stop learning things that you might never have expected or have long forgotten. And I think that level of self-confidence can impact what we do. You know, you think about all the companies that thought they had the perfect widget, you know, without naming names: Kodak, Xerox, Radio Shack, Blockbuster, all of those who said, we don't need to listen to people. We've got the market covered. Blockbuster had how many stores across the country?
Thousands.
And thought, we're running the show. Why would we ever do anything different? And streaming, mail-in service.
Yeah.
Why do I want to go to a store and try to figure it out when I can pick it out on the internet, send it to somebody, and they're going to send it to my door? Yeah. Blockbuster was like, wait, what? And they're out of business. And so I think that if we're not always evolving and think that we have all the answers, I think that there's the opportunity that we are going to miss something. And I actually think that is a greater challenge to organizations and businesses and leaders than worrying that they don't have enough, that they think they have all the answers.
Yeah, I would agree.
Rather than those who are questioning their abilities. At least if you're questioning your abilities, you're willing to get feedback, to accept things that you don't know, to go looking for new knowledge, experience, or perspective, so that you can feel like you are learning, gaining, growing in that.
And that's hard to do by yourself.
Of course it is.
You know, I think that's one of the things that I'm realizing more and more is how much more powerful I am in finding new ideas, in addressing new ideas and making them into what they can be to help me do what I want, because I talk to people like you about them. You know, I was telling someone yesterday about how we got to the 15-minute laser solution sessions. I met a guy, it was a networking call. He was in Chicago and we're talking, he's coaching. And he's like, I'm doing this crazy coaching, but it works so well. Have you ever tried 15-minute sessions? And I was like, no, that's crazy. But that was 2 weeks before you and I started talking about what we were going to do. And it fit right into what we're doing. And there was a new idea that was completely foreign to me. But then we talked about it. It's like, well, that's really, yeah, that could really work well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what it happens. And if I had been too confident in what I was already doing, I wouldn't have ever brought it to you. We would have never had the discussion. And I think the two of us like new ideas, and it was like, okay, what do we got to lose?
Well, I think they're at least worth considering.
Right.
You know, I think, again, if you feel like, okay, I got the perfect system, it's going to work for everybody. And so many people out there, I think, share that. I have the system that's going to create all the opportunities you need. And so often, or a leader who says, follow me, this is the only way to do it.
Yep.
I think they're going to miss out. And I think, unfortunately, there are people who have to deal with that and try to figure out, well, what do they do when they have a new idea? I mean, talk about a great way to shoot down new ideas in your team is to come in and feel like this is the only way. A lot of people are going to sit around that room and be like, well, I better not say anything because I don't want to challenge the leader, the quote unquote expert on our team. They have all the answers. So I guess I'll just sit back here. And I think it's a great way to stifle creativity.
Or it's the one person in the room who always has the idea.
Sure.
And the person sitting in the back of the room who never says a word, but behind the scenes is going, I just wish they'd listened to me one time. I could have helped them with this.
Sure.
And I think that's part of the overconfidence really is believing that you have it all figured out, right?
Is that your one thing?
Yeah, I think overconfidence is believing that you have it all figured out. And because every situation is new in some way, you can't have it all figured out. You just can't.
Certainly. I like that.
How about you?
And I think for my one thing, I'm going to add, I think going back to self-confidence and having too much, I think there is a very fine line between having self-confidence and the value and benefit that provides,
Mhm.
the comfort that provides, and having too much, and the slippery slope that you can get into where you think you have all the answers, where the professor who's been teaching for 25 years is never going to have a different student ever again that's going to have a different thought.
Yeah.
I think now you've kind of fallen into the trap of, I'm just going to do it the way I've always done it because it seems to have worked. Rather than, what if we're always asking questions about what could we do differently? And how might we, even as great as whatever it was we just did, the product we did, the presentation that you're going to do today, or the teaching that professor had,
Mhm.
there's always opportunities to do it differently. That could have a different impact on someone else. And isn't that what we're all trying to do? Share the value that we have to impact others.
I like it. Nice.
So that's my one thing. So everyone, if you have one thing that you'd like to share around the topic of self-confidence and having too much, please feel free to put it in the chat, or you can go to the Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share it in there. Now, if you're not yet a member of the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, it is
What
easy.
is wrong with you?
Don't judge them.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It's
Maybe
okay, people. I know you're just not ready. You'll get there.
Maybe they just haven't found us yet. They haven't been searching for what we are sharing.
Okay.
So come join us in our Facebook group. Bob won't be so judgmental inside the group, I promise. And you can become a part of our growing community. All you have to do is go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades, and then ask to join, because it is a private group so that we can create a space where people feel comfortable sharing that they maybe feel like they have too much confidence and they're worried they're missing something, like our client that Bob was talking to yesterday, or they are looking for more self-confidence and they are trying to find whatever it is to help them take the next step along their own unique pathway to success. So we hope to see you in there. We also, Bob, you talked about this presentation today. Are there still a few seats left?
We do have a few seats left. Yes, it's at 4 p.m. Eastern today. It'll be a workshop called From I Wish to Success, the Renegade Way. And this workshop will give you an opportunity to take on any goal that you have for the year, any wish, any dream. You can pick one, and we're going to walk you through a process that will help you figure out how to take steps towards achieving it. And here's the piece that I like the best: how many steps you've already taken to achieve it.
Awesome.
It's really cool. You walk away at the end of the hour totally charged up to do this thing that when you walk in, you're like, yeah, I'd like to double my sales this year, or I'd like to buy a beach house, or I'd like to, be able to afford a golf club membership, whatever it is.
Or I'd like to find a new job, or
Yep.
I wish that I could get a promotion, or my dream is to start my own business.
Yeah. Any of those, all of those would be perfect for this. And this process is one that you can replicate later on your own.
Excellent. So we will put the link in the chat so that you can find it there. You could also just go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com, and right in the top of the header, there's a little button that says From I Wish to Success, the Renegade Way Workshop. Click on that. You'll get all the information you need, and you can register for your spot. And then by email, you'll get all the details you need to join us on this virtual online program where we're going to help you find ways to the success that you desire. So we look
see you this afternoon.
We'll see you this afternoon. If you can't make that for some reason, or you're someone who's already participated, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for the next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. and go out and find a new idea.
I like that. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.